Welcome to the Lead with Hope podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Kelly. This is the podcast where you will learn about self-reflection, self-awareness, and how to lead with hope. I love hearing impactful stories from people across the country, and I believe these stories will help in your personal and professional growth. Hit subscribe and share your favorite episode with a colleague. Now, let's tune in to the next episode. Today, my guests are Megan and Kara. They are the dynamic duo and the driving force behind IntegatED. They inspire educators to create engaging, impactful lessons that elevate student learning. With over 20 years of classroom experience and a shared commitment to transforming education, Megan and Kara equip teachers with the tools, strategies, and confidence to foster meaningful, student-centered learning experiences. Welcome to the pod this morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, it's a pleasure. I'm glad we got to connect this morning. And as I said, I love sharing stories, hearing stories from people across the country. So as we get started, why don't we start there? Share your story and tell us what makes you tick. Why'd you get into education?
Yeah.
So I actually come from a line of educators. And so my mom was in education. She was more in the preschool realm. So any of you that do those younger babies, more power to you. So honestly, it was just something that I grew up with. And I grew up with a love of kids and just being involved in their learning. And that is honestly how I got my start. So, I mean, it's not too crazy of a story, but it definitely came from just a family experience or family background in education.
Yeah. Mine's kind of a traditional start. I wasn't really sure what else to do other than to be a teacher. I always wanted to teach. I always wanted to be in the classroom. I was the child that had the stuffies lined up and we were teaching them in the living room. So we just kind of has always been, in our souls, I think, to be with children and to impact their lives. Kara and I actually met in our current school now. I met her in the lounge. I wanted to start running. And so I just randomly asked if anyone would want to start running with me. And poor Kara said yes. So we ended up, just running and talking and sharing. And through that talk and those runs, we realized that we were becoming very frustrated in the classroom. We were trying to figure out what was working, what wasn't working. How do we help our students? And the miles that we put on the track were really like our sounding board for how IntegatED kind of became born, I guess, before we knew that it was going to take off the way that it did. So we ended up running a half marathon together down the beautiful Spearfish Canyon in South Dakota. It was a really good mark, I think, for both. We were very excited for that. And after we stopped running so much, we started really diving deep on how we could be better in the classroom for our students. About that time, we started doing some work with the University of Wyoming. We helped create our curriculum for science in our district at the time. I was working on the second grade curriculum. Kara was working on the first grade. And then collaboratively, we went to a leadership program and kind of learned a little bit of how we could start sharing the knowledge that we had and what we could do with it. So with all of that.
And along our, just sharing information, our speaking journey, it was just kind of by accident. After the Leadership Academy we attended, they're like, one of the things we encourage you to do is just share. So we're like, okay, we'll just apply to a conference and see if we can share our knowledge and information. We happened to get into a national conference, and here we are. So it just kind of, it was just one of those things where we didn't really, plan on all of this falling into place, but we're very thankful and grateful that it did. And it's been a great journey so far.
Yeah, I love that story. And it really fits into the Lead with Hope framework in terms of, it sounds like what you guys did is collaboration, and working together you were able to build first your self-efficacy and your confidence. And then that turned into collective teacher efficacy, which we know that John Hattie says is one of the most impactful ways to improve student outcomes. So I love that story. You are speaking my language. And, if we could get a recipe for helping our teachers to build their self-efficacy, their leader efficacy, their collective teacher efficacy, I think we could totally transform schools across the nation. And now more than ever, I believe we need to lead with hope. We need that innovation and that transformation. So tell me a little bit more about what you are doing in your work with IntegatED to bring that message to the teachers, to bring that collaboration and help them to do that in their own schools and classrooms.
Yep.
We were both very passionate. I think with the hope of it is that what we've created and what we have found is a different way of attacking how we deliver instruction. We lead with content first. We have to give our students the knowledge and the vocabulary and all of this information in a different way than just a set and get or so focused on a certain way. I think that our students and adults, we learn things in so many different ways, and we call those our pathways of learning. We're thinking about hands-on, auditory, storytelling, music, movement. And when you start bringing those different instructional strategies into your everyday teaching practice, that's where the magic starts to happen for yourself as the educator and for your students, is they're starting to kind of connect those things to themselves, and that information is now going into their long-term memory. We provide trainings to help understand how those pathways can be met in their classrooms, and we call those classroom learning experiences. They're around how you can elevate your instruction in a way that makes sense for yourself and your students, and the growth is just phenomenal.
Yeah. And the piece about, I liked how you were talking about collective teacher efficacy as well. One thing that, again, kind of just fell onto us and we never really planned on it is being able to coach and build strong and effective teams. Because people always say, well, how do you guys work so well together? How is your team so effective? How can you create these experiences together? How can you implement them and make them so successful, not just individually, but like as a team? And so we're like, oh, well, let's share that. Let's do that work. Let's do that as well. So that's another piece that, we started with the instructional strategies and the trainings and the workshops with all that what Meg just explained, but then also going with the collective. Now we're also digging into how can we help teachers work together so that way they don't feel alone and that they can feel like they are a part of a team but also making progress with their students as well.
Yeah.
And everybody wants what the two of you have. They want that team. They want that teacher bestie. And we need to be passionate about what we do, definitely, but we also need to have fun. We need to enjoy what we're doing every day. And then that fuels our purpose and our passion. And so I see that coming from what you guys are saying. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as far as the Lead with Hope framework, as I said before, it's a system of self-efficacy. H stands for habits, O for optimistic outlook, P for passion, purpose, and perseverance, and E stands for excellence. So I'm curious, of those letters, which one resonates most with you and why?
Yeah. What's funny is I said, Kara, what one would you pick? And we both said at the same time. And I think it's the P, the passion and perseverance.
And also the purpose.
Yes.
We're huge on, even in our trainings, like what is the purpose behind what you're doing? Because, so oftentimes you get caught up in so many things. And if it's not purposeful, then we really need to self-reflect and evaluate, is it worth our time to do? So
yeah. So I think all three of those are very, very much where we're at. We're very passionate educators. We're still current third grade teachers. We teach every day. We each have 24 kids in our classroom, so the passion of what we're doing in our own work and then being able to share that with other educators and making it purposeful for them. That's where we sit with that, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He is one of my favorites, definitely. The purpose, the passion, the perseverance. It's all necessary, but he is one of my favorites for sure. So that resonates with me as well. So I'm going to circle back to what you said a minute ago in terms of being a third grade classroom teacher and also running this business integrated. You guys stay very busy. How do you balance all of the demands? Because I think it's important to stay plugged in to what teachers are experiencing every day, but it has to be a challenge to be able to juggle both. How do you navigate that?
Integrated isn't just about content integration. It's not about instructional strategies. It's literally kind of the way we live. We're very much integrated all the time. And I think having that passion and the purposeful work that you're doing really drives it. And we have each other, but it's that teamwork piece. It's, what can you take that someone else can't, and vice versa. And Kim Strobel actually wrote a book called Teach Happy. And she talks about in that book about the flow, that it's not balance, it's flow. So sometimes you're over here and you're giving it all to this thing, but then you're over here. And when I read that, I was like, that's exactly what this is you can't balance all of the things. It's impossible, but you can have the flow of your business or the flow of the classroom, of your family. We each have, I have 4 kids. Kara has 3. So it just, it's just about going with the flow.
Yeah. And I would say, with us being a duo, it does help with just the workload. We each take certain aspects of just business side of things. So that kind of helps. But also and it works because of the strong collaboration that we have with one another, because we have built that team aspect. But then also we have great support systems as well. Our families and friends surrounding us have been great supports in our work, whether it's helping with the kiddos when we have to travel, or just simply, give us encouraging words when we're like, what are we doing? But definitely, the collaboration that we have with one another, but then also the support systems we have outside of the business, who are just, they see what we're doing and they believe in what we're doing. So that is also extremely helpful to be able to continue in both sides of things in the classroom and with speaking in the business as well.
And I think a big piece too is that we remind each other to have self-care, whatever that looks like, whatever time that you need, whether it's 10 minutes every morning or you need a night off, or we're just very much in tune with kind of that work. And I think it's so important to remember that maybe it doesn't have to get done right now. Maybe it can get done later. And just taking time to just kind of fill yourself back up so that you can continue to pour into others.
And it sounds like you're very tuned into your purpose and you stay true to that. And then, of course, you have an accountability partner in your business partner. So that's helpful as well.
Yeah, it does. It is very nice. And, people always say, well, how do you make it work? And honestly, I don't know how, we came to be where we are, but we are just very grateful that we are able to have that, team, but also friendship as well. So we're very thankful for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. So a lot of times when people talk about purpose is often born out of adversity. So is there an adversity or something that you have had to overcome to get to where you're at?
I mean, yeah, I think that's how Integrated became born. One night we're like, this is crazy. What are we doing? Do we stay or do we go? We've got to do something different because what we're doing in our classrooms, we're not happy. And that's how we came up with our framework for integration, how to put content subjects together. We started trying it out in our classrooms 6-7 years ago, and we were seeing all of the excitement of both the educator and the student. And so we've kind of overcame that heavy lifting part of teaching and the I don't want to go to work today mode or whatever that is. And we flipped it. We flipped it and we used that frustration to find a purposeful way for all of our other educator friends too.
Yeah. So I think when you think of like the adversity part, I think the frustration was part of it. And then just, feeling like boxed in almost. I don't know if I feel like that's an okay way to describe it, but like, I have these things I have to, teach with these resources or whatever, which is fine. Our frustration was though, like there was no student engagement, there was no growth. What are we going to do to better that? Because we were, like Meg said, we were at the point of, well, we're so frustrated right now that we're either going to go do something different or we need to figure out a way how to make it better for ourselves and most importantly for our students as well. So that's how IntegatED started. Yeah. And that's, that huge adversity. And of course, there's been little bumps along the road as we go. I mean, we're always learning. But I think that biggest frustration at the beginning and that adversity of just, lack of student engagement and all of that is what really kind of started our drive and the purpose behind what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think you're describing a lot of educators today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons, that I came up with this framework in terms of trying to find ways to provide hope for educators, because I do believe that education is a powerful profession and it is something that is so needed and so rewarding, but it is also so frustrating.
Yeah.
What would you say to those educators who, maybe this year they have a student in their classroom that has significant trauma or significant behavioral issues, and they just want to teach. They want to help their students become the best that they can become, but they are frustrated and they're hanging on by a thread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, honestly, have teach with more fun. I think sometimes we get so stuck on the scripted curriculum or a certain way that we're supposed to do something. And what's crazy is that educators, my gosh, we are so amazing people. We have met such amazing educators out there around the country. And I'm like, you're doing great work. And they're feeling so frustrated because it's not what maybe they think it should look like. But really, it's what do your students in your classroom that year, that month? And, the way that we implement our learning experiences and our pathways, it's naturally differentiated. So the stress of trying to meet 25, 30 different people every single day at their needs is completely washed away because we're doing it in a way that you're taking your students' weaknesses and their strengths are building those up. And that's where the joy comes in, because then as an educator, our hearts and our souls are into it. And so we're seeing these students smiling and laughing and learning, and then we get filled up by that as well. So I think that, we're just so passionate about what we're doing and we see such amazing outcome with it. And some days I'm like, this is just so simple, but it just is a different mindset.
Yeah. And it all starts with mindset. And we know that sometimes the most simple things are the most impactful.
Yeah.
It's that consistency, doing it day in and day out, and it's the follow through. And again, going back to what you guys said earlier, it's the purpose behind it that drives everything else.
Yeah.
So that sounds amazing. I would love to see that in action.
Well, you're welcome anytime.
Yes.
Can you share with me about your most recent passion project? What are you up to these days?
Oh gosh. Well, IntegatED is writing a book.
Oh, wow.
We are writing a book. It will be coming out in 2025. I think this might be our first real public announcement. So
cool.
The podcast gets that. Yeah. It's gonna be phenomenal, actually. Not just because we're writing it, but the simple fact that it's packed full of purposeful, ready to use experiences in your classroom. It's just grab and go. You don't have to do a lot of digging in to be able to implement what we have in it. Yeah. So you got that going on.
Yeah, super excited about that. And then as we're working on the book, one other passion that we have, going back to just helping educators, we have something called the integrated cohort, and we meet every semester And it's literally, we just meet with a small group of educators once a month on Zoom, and we, build them up, and we give them all the tools, resources, and information for learning pathways and classroom learning experiences. So that way they can be implementing those in their work. And at the same time, building, a community where educators can feel, a part of something and feel like they have, a team and coaches behind them that they can come to if, like, hey, I have this, what should I do?
Yeah.
So that way we are kind of, I guess, coaches in that realm with our integrated cohort as well. So we kind of have two of those passion projects happening right now.
And that integrated cohort's really great because it starts every January and it goes for a semester, and then the new group starts in August. And I think the collaboration that happens, and then those teachers stay together, and sometimes we have teams come in and they work as a team with us, or it's just individual and they bring it out to their team. But I always like to tell them that you have us in your back pocket. Mm-hmm. You have access to us when you need us. We have, like Kara said, we have this coming up. We can't think of an idea to do that. And that's our favorite thing to do is to plan and to get those units together. So the integrated cohort is just, it honestly is just a really great resource for educators that are feeling stuck.
Yeah.
It's almost a continuous passion project.
Yes. Yes.
So you said you meet with individual educators, or you would meet with like PLCs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the cohort, you can either come on your own. Mm-hmm. We also do where districts have hired us to do one from every team member, and then they go out, or just the whole school. And we meet on Zoom. And then they can schedule a one-on-one coaching call for 30 minutes, and we can just work through whatever it is that they're stuck on.
Yeah. Every once in a while, we do have, we have a few schools that they do the cohort, but then they also sign up or ask for us to come in person a few times throughout the year as well. So we're continually building that relationship with educators. And so that's been a really fun experience is, when you can actually meet them face to face and not just on a screen. So the cohort has definitely been a really amazing, powerful, purposeful project that is just going to continue to be continuous.
Yeah. And on a grander scale, you're building that collective teacher efficacy. And what is so cool about that, in my mind, is you're bringing ideas from across the nation. I mean, what somebody is doing in their school, this school may not even have ever heard of that. And you're bringing those ideas all together. And that can be really, truly powerful. And it does. It helps people get unstuck. It helps them to have that hope that they need in education today. Now, going back to your book, how cool would it be to do a cohort and then a keynote and a book signing, a book study? I mean, there's so many opportunities here. But do you have an idea for a title yet?
We do have a title, but we're not releasing it yet.
To be continued.
To be continued.
Continued.
Yes.
So in order for the listeners here on the Lead with Hope podcast to be the first to know that, can you tell them how they can connect with you and follow you so that they don't miss out on that title, so they can purchase it when it comes out?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have our website, www.integratedk12.com. Meg does a great job of posting and keeping everything updated on the website. Then we are on social media as well. We are on almost every platform: Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're at Integrated K12. The only one that's different is YouTube. It's Integrated EDU. But we are on all of those platforms, and we will be pushing out all of that information on our socials and on our website as we continue. So
if you go to our website right now, you can get a 20 impactful instructional strategies that are coming from our book. If you sign up for that, you just provide your email when you hop on there, and then you can get those dropped to your email drop box.
Awesome. So that is amazing. And I look forward to hearing more about that book and all of the great work that you're doing. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you today, hearing about what you're doing, how you're leading with hope, and you are putting hope out there in the world for teachers who feel stuck and they feel like they just can't do this anymore, because by building that self-efficacy and collective teacher efficacy, it's important. It's important work, and we need great educators. So thank you for what you're doing, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
We want to leave you with one quote. Okay.
Love quotes.
If you do nothing, it feels safe, but everything stays the same. If you do nothing, there is less to experience, less to love, and less to learn.
I love that.
Yes, that is from one of our favorite books, Kobe Yamada. He wrote the book Trying. So we kind of live by that.
Absolutely. As we lead with hope, thank you for that. And I will leave it there. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at teachbetter.com/podcasts, and we'll see you at the next episode.